So today I'll be showing you how to make my standard Novella rose with 4 leaves. I call this my garden rose, and it usually comes with either 2, 4 or 6 leaves. I have already published a tutorial for the garden rose with 2 leaves, but this one I thought I should show you how to stagger the leaves if you're making the rose with 4 leaves, and you can extend the process to add 6 leaves or 8 leaves, however many you want. And because I'll be using up some of my spare roses and my spare leaves, I'm just going to insert the footage for how to make the garden rose and hopefully pick back up with you towards the end so I can show you how to stagger the leaves. If you already know the process for my rose and the leaves, then you might just want to skip over directly to the part where we're staggering the leaves. So first of all, you'll need to download the template. This is my standard template which I've just updated, so you'll need to use petal shape number 1 and leaf shape number 1. You'll also need an old book so that you can cut out the petals, and you will also need about half a sheet of A4 coloured paper for the leaves. You can pick any colour that you like for the leaves. You'll also need some scissors and some regular PVA glue and some high-tack glue. If you don't have both, that's fine. So you'll also need the wallpaper paste. The link to mix this up is in the video description. And you'll need some florist tape and some regular sewing thread. And some wire. This is quite a flexible wire, but it's still quite sturdy. It doesn't bend too easily, but it's flexible enough to reposition the leaves. You'll also need some sort of stem. Now I prefer using the wooden kebab sticks, which are these pale stems, but you can also use these garden sticks from the garden centre or wire. Now making them on wire is slightly more difficult, so if you're a beginner I recommend using a wooden stem. So first of all we'll need to cut the petals from the book. Now for the standard rose I'll normally take 4 pages from the book, hold it firmly at the top and rip them out, and then fold them in half and simply take your petal template and cut around it. So you don't have to be terribly precise, but it is a good idea to try and keep the edge of the cut nice and smooth. And what we'll do is we'll cut 3 times from the book page. Each cut will give you 8 petals, and we need 21 petals to make this rose, so you'll have a few spare, but that's fine because sometimes spares come in handy. To assemble the rose, simply lay out the petals in front of you. I like to make 3 rows of 6 petals with 2 extra to the right hand side and all the spares to the left. You can do it any way you like, that's fine, but this is just the method that I prefer. So the first thing that we want to do is take one of the petals from your spares pile, and you want to curl it inwards from the right hand side to the left and make a little cone shape. And then simply put some of the wallpaper paste inside the cone shape and insert your wooden stem. Twist the petal at the bottom with your fingertips, and then using your thread wind it around the base of the petal 2 or 3 times until it's held securely in place. And then I continue to wind the thread down the stem until it reaches the very bottom of the petal. Place that to one side, and then put a dollop of wallpaper paste on each of the petals in front of you. And then pick up your stem. Take the first petal from the bottom row in front of you and align it so that the bottom of the new petal is resting just on the bottom of the petal that's on the stem. And then curl it around the stem, and then using your thread, bind 2 or 3 times to secure that in place. The next petal, we want to place it directly opposite the petal we've just put on. And it's exactly the same process. You simply just need to hold it at the bottom and wind the thread around. And for all of the rest of the petals, you want to place them in the same way, but so the middle of the new petal aligns with the very edge of the previous petal. So it's simply just keep adding all of the petals that are in front of you in exactly the same way. I use the wallpaper paste because it absorbs into the paper, and when it's dry it really securely holds each of the petals in place. And because the wallpaper paste isn't very tacky when you first put it on, I use the thread to bind it just so things don't fall apart during the construction process. If you're going to come back to this video to make it another time, don't forget to add it to your Watch Later playlist, and then you'll easily be able to find it. So add the last petal in the very same way, and then just wind the thread round a few extra times and bring it all the way down about 1 centimetre under the bunchy bit. Snip the thread off and then cover the entire bunchy bit under the rose and the thread with some wallpaper paste, and that will hold the thread in place and stop it unwinding. At this point you want to gently tease the petals open with your fingertips. Simply push down and out and reposition. You can pull the petals back up if you need to. And then once you're happy with how they're sitting, put the rose to one side to dry. It's quite important to let the rose dry because if you go on to the next stage you can move the petals out of alignment, and we want the wallpaper paste to dry in the good position. So for the leaves, what you need to do is take your A4 paper and fold it so that your leaf template just fits on the strip of paper. So in this example, I'm just cutting 2 leaves, 2 pairs of leaves. For the garden rose, you'll need to cut 4 times so that you've got 8 leaves. So then we need to prepare our wire, and I'll normally cut off between 15 to 20 centimetres. It doesn't matter terribly if the lengths of wire are not the same length because it's all going to get bound into the stem anyway. So take one of your lengths of wire and 4 of your leaf templates. Arrange them so you've got 2 templates at the bottom and 2 at the top, but keep them in their pairs. And then on the bottom 2 templates, I like to use the high-tack glue and just put a thin strip of high-tack glue around the edge and up the centre. And then take one end of your wire and align it up the centre of the leaf about 1.5 centimetres from the top, and press down its pair on top. At this point I like to use a tea towel just to press everything in place. And then on the other end of the wire, we will attach the other leaf in exactly the same way. So I like to put some little notches along the edge of the leaves. And to do that, simply position the point of the leaf towards you and snip a couple of little V shapes into the sides. Now I usually put 3 or 4 on each side. I'm not terribly precise with them, it's just for effect really. So do exactly the same for the other 4 leaf templates that you've cut. And then what we should have is 2 sets of 2 leaves. So once your rose is dry, what we want to do is apply the florist tape to the stem. Now I'd normally start at the bottom, and if you hold the florist tape over the end and fold it down and around, you can very easily just wind it upwards towards the top of the stem. When you get to the top of the stem, I like to snip about 2 or 3 centimetres off and add some PVA glue and just wrap it around the bunchy bit under the petals, and the PVA glue will just help hold that all in place. So we want to add the leaves. We can add the leaves in 2 ways. We can add them staggered, which is what I'm going to show you today, or you can attach the leaves so that they're all together on one side. So to do that, what you'd need to do is hold both sets of your leaves together and just wind them with some florist tape. But because I'm going to stagger these leaves, I'll show you how to do it with 1 pair of leaves, and hopefully you'll be able to see how to do it with 4 as well. So the first thing I like to do is pair up the leaves and bring the loose ends of wire together just by adding some florist tape. Just squeeze the wire together, and towards the top of the wire on the underside of the leaves, just wind some florist tape down. And you'll only need to bring the florist tape down about 4 or 5 centimetres. As you can see, my wires are different lengths here, and it really doesn't matter so long as you've got enough to attach to the stem. So once you've bound the leaves together, what we want to do is take the first pair of leaves and push them away from you, and then hold them up right to the rose stem so that they're just poking out nicely to one side, about 3 centimetres as you're looking down on the rose. And then take your florist tape, and you can add a little bit of PVA glue if you like. Simply wind the florist tape around to hold the leaves in place. Don't wind down too far, maybe about 2 centimetres. And then on the opposite side of the stem from the leaves we've just attached, we want to attach the next pair of leaves. So bend the wire with the leaves away from you, and that's about 2.5 centimetres on this one, and then hold it up to the opposite side of the stem and attach it with the florist tape. Just continue winding the florist tape down. And then once you've covered all of the wire, you can add a little bit of PVA glue and secure it in place. And if you want to add another set of leaves, I would just add them at 90 degrees to these leaves in about the same position down the stem. So that's how you add extra leaves to a single stem rose. And don't forget to check out the tutorial for the gift sleeves if you're wanting to give this as a gift for Valentine's or for Mother's Day or for any other reason. These are very simple to make and they shouldn't take long, and they just add a little finishing touch to the rose. So thank you for joining me for this tutorial. Do subscribe if you would like to see more tutorials. I post all different kinds of arts and craft content as well as these tutorials. And do give me a thumbs up if you've got this far.